Welcome back to the Obvious Choice podcast. I'm so excited to be here with Nick Mitchell. Nick is somebody who I've admired in the fitness industry, in the business world for many years. He did found a company that he's recently sold a stake in called Ultimate Performance. He's living in Singapore now, originally from the UK. Nick, I'm trying to remember the last time that we actually spoke, you and I. We've messaged.
I don't
Do you
remember
remember
the last time that we spoke, but I remember our first communication.
I think that was the last time we spoke.
No, I don't
I think so.
Maybe,
I think so.
maybe, but
Okay, when was it?
oh God, when we first spoke, when we first communicated, then, and as a lesson for your audience, you gave me some value that you didn't have to give. You didn't ask for anything. You never asked for anything from me. You gave it freely. I believe genuinely.
It was about Facebook. It was about like Facebook marketing or something, wasn't it?
It was. And you gave it, you clearly were giving it in such a way, freely, genuinely, but it wasn't as if I'm John Goodman, I'm here, I'm a charity service for everyone. It was,
Right.
there was a strategy to it. I'm sure you've done it with lots of people, and I'm sure it's been strategically a useful part of how you've built your business. I mean, look, you do it now. You share all these thoughts and these interesting ideas on your own social media. I know we shouldn't be interviewing you, right? No, that's not what we're supposed to be doing, but that's what you do. So it's been a very interesting observing you develop your career over the last, I think we're probably talking honestly,
It was over 10 years ago.
No, it was much longer than that. I think it was in 2010, 2011.
It wouldn't have been then because I was in Thailand. I was living in Thailand. I was living on the island of Koh Phangan in Thailand, and that was 2014. I remember where I was.
2014, honestly.
You think it was before then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I only had 2 sites. Maybe.
So I was a young buck then. I mean, I would have been very new to the online fitness world in around that time. But yeah, I'd figured out some stuff about Facebook for sure, like Facebook organic marketing back then.
Some common sense, as these things always are.
What?
Common sense. We might call them hacks now, but they weren't cheating. They weren't necessarily shortcuts. It was an intelligent way to employ your time and effort.
Yeah.
And I think that actually is a hallmark of your approach, if I have assessed your approach correctly.
I hope so. There's a lot of things that we can do these days, isn't there? There's a lot of things that we feel pressure to do for no reason really other than the people who create these platforms kind of addict us into thinking that we should be somebody we're not or do something that's not true to us for reasons that nobody can quite describe. And, you know, it's... I call it the underpants gnome problem from a famous episode of South Park, which is step 1, steal underpants, step 2, question mark, step 3, profit. And it's the same thing. It's step 1, create content, step 2, question mark, step 3, profit. Most people don't really know how step 1 connects to step 3 yet. You know what I'm saying? But we still think that we should do it, and we still think that even if we are doing it and we're not getting the outcomes that we want, then... the problem must be our problem. We need to do it a little bit better with a little bit better production quality, or be a little bit funnier, a little bit better looking, or figure out how to tickle the algorithm in a little bit different way.
Because we're completely locked in on comparing ourselves to what everyone else is doing. In my early days, I used to see what other people were doing in the broadest possible personal training space, and if I wasn't doing it, I'd get angry with myself.
Interesting.
If I thought it was a good idea, I'd get angry with myself. The thing that I think that's always resonated very strongly in part of your message is don't overplay and don't overstate the importance of social media. I mean, I can tell you now, I've never put a great deal of effort into social media. I've never strategically planned it out. I was most active in the early days, and it was helpful then to gain momentum. But since then, and we're talking 10, 11, 12 years, I put barely any effort into social media. The UP business hasn't strategically created the right cohesive, ongoing social media message for years since I stopped doing it, because we took our eyes off the ball, really. And the lesson there is, UP is by a million miles the largest, most commercially successful, dedicated, standalone, boutique personal training business in the world.
Yep.
It's the only personal training business that I know of, anyway, that's had a sizable investment from private equity. Not VC, right. Private equity, proper private equity. We never really mastered social media.
Yeah.
The lesson there, right? There's a lesson there in the product. You've got to get the marketing right. You've got to get other aspects of the marketing right, of course, and the brand story and all that kind of stuff. But get your product right. Get your product right. Product in personal training and in any business where you've really got to continue to offer an overwhelming amount of value and a significant ROI to your client or member, your customer, whatever it may be. Not all industries work that way, of course.
Not all industries work that way, but I think the best industries work that way, because the best industries are industries that actually don't need a lot of customers. And they're customers where you don't need a lot of customers because customers buy often, and the customers that you do have pay you a lot of money.
It depends. It depends what you're talking about. Now you're talking about an advisory business. But McDonald's is a great business. Put aside the product, it's a great business.
People come back often.
Media. I'm obsessed with media and what someone like Rupert Murdoch did.
Interesting.
Look at the control. Look at the control. In his heyday, that was the most powerful man on the planet.
But here's what I love about what you said is that a lot of the biggest companies in our space that have been purchased and had exits, so a lot of the really commercially successful ones that have been vetted by outside advisors and investors. Two others that come to mind are Stronger You with Mike Dola, which was purchased a couple years ago, and then Precision Nutrition, same thing, private equity, and both of those have had, at the time when they were purchased, basically no social media presence. And even the social media presence that they had was actually very, very late. Or very much behind the scenes. So in Precision Nutrition's case, they were just late. I mean, they focused on the product. They focused on knowing who the product was for. They focused on the one thing that they were really, really good at, which was really long-form content. Stronger You was different. Stronger You was actually much more behind the scenes, using social media to be social and to talk with people, not talk at people. And so Mike spent a lot of his time in different Facebook groups having one-on-one conversations. Similar to what I did with you, I guess, to your memory. It's never been a strategic thing, but something that I've really tried to do over the years. It's like, okay, well, number one, who are the people that I want to get to know in the industry? But also who just like Talent Scout. You can kind of look at people and be like, they're good shit. Like there's something about them that is really, really special. And most people don't know or accept that yet about that person. So I have an opportunity, because I've recognized it early, to provide this person value to help them get to where I know they're going to get to anyway, and be a part of their story. Those are the conversations that go on behind the scenes. That's the 90% of stuff that nobody sees, because it's not the little statement that they put on Instagram.
In my experience, it's in the 99.9% of stuff that goes on. And people only see, again, bringing it back to personal training, the personal training industry. If you do it right, the client sees the tip of the iceberg. The trainer sees the tip of the iceberg, the bit that's above the water. And then, just as with the proverbial iceberg, the real bulk of the work, the IP, the graft, the grind, it's something that you don't. It's the engine room of the business that you don't see, and to build what I would call a real business, and by that I mean a business that is not a house of cards, one wrong thing doesn't crash you, one person leaving doesn't crash you, and this is the eternal challenge for personal training businesses.
COVID-19 doesn't crash you.
COVID-19
It'll hurt you.
COVID-19 was an interesting one for us because UP grew through profit.
Yeah.
Just profit, not cash flow, not debt, not outside investment. So there was a war chest. And when COVID came along, it was absolutely cataclysmic, obviously. We were shut down. I mean, I think total everywhere was shut down, 9 countries for like 9 months in total, in whole. And you know, this is just, but we found a way to make money. We actually came out of the worst year of COVID despite being shut down in key locations. I mean, I'm speaking to you from Singapore. Singapore was smashed to pieces, no government support. The US smashed to pieces, the UK smashed. We came out in the worst year, 14,000, I think, American dollars up, EBITDA positive in the worst year. Because we just pivoted to online advisory, online coaching. We didn't maintain that momentum into the online space. The online business is not something that we particularly good at or developed very well. It's one of the gaps. But for that period of time, we managed to pivot across to that. It was a personal training business, and investors don't understand this. And I've been through this with very, very sophisticated investors. It's not a gym business. Personal training businesses are not gym businesses. The gym is just the office where you do the work. Personal training business is an advisory business. You are a trusted advisor, and you're an advisory company, just like law firms, just like accounting firms, if done right.
There's a joke that Amber and I say all the time, which is, if we were to have done the amount of work and the quality of work that we've done in the fitness industry, in almost any other industry, you know, we'd have a business that'd do $100 million a year.
You would, but I'll counter you with this though. You've got more opportunity to stand out. If you're doing this in the legal profession, it's more competitive. You've got higher quality opponents. I should never have been allowed to go to Los Angeles and establish the foothold. There'll be 4 sites there soon. No one else has got that in LA. No one else has done that in LA. I shouldn't have been allowed to do that. I'm going. Do you know the expression "coals to Newcastle"? Do you have that expression? No. Coals to Newcastle Newcastle was a place that used to produce a lot of coal, or coal mining. So taking coals to Newcastle was kind of like, no one's going to do anything by it. What you're doing that. It's the same thing. Coals to Newcastle, going to LA, opening Brentwood, Santa Monica, the birthplace of modern gym culture. Definitely the birthplace of the modern personal training industry, really. And to be able to do what I did should not have been possible.
You shouldn't have been able to do it.
No. And was only possible because of the standards. And I could talk to you for 5 hours without drawing breath about the standards in the personal training industry. Partly because it's such a nascent young profession, right? We must give ourselves an excuse, a valid mitigation. It's young. When I started, not when I started personal training, but early days, gym days, I guess I'm probably like 20 years of age. I'm at university and I'm seeing 1 or 2 professional bodybuilders go and charge £50 an hour to train with someone, and I'm like, well, that's fucking ridiculous, right? And now where it's gone, where I mean, every man, woman, and their dog is a trainer, and it by no means, and again, I could get on a massive soapbox with this one. It should be a highly respected profession, because when done reasonably well, only reasonably well, the quality of life improvements are manifest. When done extremely well, it's profoundly life-changing, life-improving. Because we have the privilege that the medical profession would die for, 2-3 hours of focused one-to-one time to effect lifestyle and habit changes, to partner with people on their journey, whatever their journey may be. So it's such an incredibly impactful job when done well. But because it's a young profession, because it has no social cachet, which it's its own worst enemy, the reasons for that, because it's seen as easy money, and because of the dominant structure, the dominant commercial gym model does nothing but hold back the personal training industry. So the personal training industry is improving. It has improved from our respective early days, and it will continue to improve, but it's fighting itself most of the time, which is a shame.
And one of the things that I've noticed is that the people who have come out of the fitness industry are generally just really, really, really good, because they've had to overcome that often families' perceptions of what they do, social stigmas around what they do. And also, like, I make this joke that the fitness industry is like New York. It's like, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. You think about what makes something difficult to sell.
What's make it? I've seen some people have a lot of luck. I don't know enough about the Soul Cycle journey, but I have a sneaky feeling they probably never made any money, actual profit. And
well, there's that. I'm talking about like really, really good businesses that come out of it, like profitable.
Really good business. Soul Cycle is one of the highest brand name, must be one of the top 10, 20, must be top 10 boutique brand name recognition. What about F45? Just a giant Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
But people have made a lot of money out of that. Lost a lot. A lot of people lost a lot of money on that, right? Mm-hmm. Been a transfer of. It's not been a generation of wealth business that has it. It's been a transfer of wealth business.
Right. Yeah, I knew the F45 story. I don't know the Soul Cycle story, I don't know as much.
I just know it's. I think because it's owned by Related, who own Equinox.
Okay.
And it's absolutely in the doghouse now, I believe. I once went, as an anecdote, in LA. I once went to look at the tail end of COVID at a failed Soul Cycle site, and one of your viewers, maybe you know the answer to this, something I could never wrap my head around. They had the lockers outside, not outside, but they had the changing rooms, meaning showers, a series of showers, like 8 showers in a row, let's say.
Okay. Gents,
ladies, and then outside they had the lockers. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around. I could never wrap my head around what you do. You get showered, wear your clothes, that you're taking things to and from the locker.
Yeah.
How does that work? And I looked at that, and maybe I'm wrong in that respect. I'm not wrong when I can think of other smaller operators and looking at their sites. One of the things that I always noticed with fitness sites, failed fitness sites, but lots of others as well, was they were just spending other people's money. They were just spending other people's money. Let's just go over the top on this. Let's not think about this. Let's spend crazy amounts of money here. My first gym cost about £105,000. Showers were crap. I made a point that the showers were crap. You would sit with me in the raw office, raw for sure, raw. And I would say to you, go into changing rooms. If you want luxury, if you want a handmade, this is not politically correct, bleep this bit out if it's too bad. I used to say, if you want a Filipino handmaiden to towel you down, the Mandarin Oriental, the Four Seasons, they can do it infinitely better than us.
Yeah.
All the money, all the investment is out there. It's in the equipment, it's in the trainers, it's in the education, it's in the incentivization to help you get, that significant ROI. But it's not on the softer things. And that was, and as the business developed, per gym, the cost, the cost ramps up for a myriad of legitimate reasons. And as a business develops, you then start to spend more time and money on the softer side of things.
Sure.
But you lean into it and you cut your cloth according to your means, which was always the secret of any success that I had.
Well, and it sounds like what you did is you just optimized for the product. I mean, it was just the product is what's going to matter at the end of the day, and the other stuff are nice to haves, and some of them we'll add them in as we need to. But what you also did there, I mean, even just describing it to me, Nick, was you made a damaging admission, which is one of the most powerful marketing statements you can make. It's like this is why we're worse. here,
Yeah,
you know?
always, you should always. I mean, look, you know, I don't even mean to tell you this. You want to sell something to someone, show them that you're authentic. And for
Yeah.
me, I have a weakness in life, is that I am just so bad at hiding things. And I'm kind of at that age. I'm 51. I'm 52 soon, and I I'm going to be that old man that
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit. That doesn't give a shit. But I want to be that man that doesn't give a shit. Right? Who cares? I care what my family, my friends think.
Yeah.
Right? The people I respect. But if you're some random stranger, I mean, you know, so long as I'm behaving myself, if I'm doing what I feel is right, who cares? And going back to the product, what I did, I created a product. I aimed to create a product. It had to be something that I could be proud of. It was that simple, and I wanted it to be, and I believe it became, honestly, genuinely, hand on heart, the best product in the world. I knew I couldn't create the best changing rooms in the world and all these lots of other things. Couldn't do that, but could I create the best? I wanted to create, and I believe UP has done this, create the best personal training experience in the world, and that was easy to be relentless at. Easy to.
How did you scale that? How did you
How did
scale
I
that?
scale the?
Yeah,
How did I scale
how did you continually find and develop, like continually find good people and develop them into being truly world-class practitioners?
Well, what do you mean by world-class practitioners? It's a world-class product.
Yes.
Does not have to be delivered by world-class practitioners.
Tell me about that.
Well, I would consider a world-class practitioner to be more of a maverick. A world-class product has to be a scalable product. So
Okay.
there is inevitably a degree of compromise, especially at the starting point of the product. What I did, that the journey was this. The hardest thing of all, early doors, was finding the right trainers. It was awful. Didn't have the awareness or the ability at the time, first couple of gyms, to gather trainers too much from social media aggressively. In fact, there wasn't social media, paid advertising at the time.
Yeah. Is that how you found trainers? Was through paid?
No.
Okay.
Through
Okay.
my reputation.
I see.
That's how
Got it.
trainers.
Got it. Yes.
My reputation. And then the business's reputation. That's not scalable. So eventually you have to go to ads as you roll out. If you're going to new markets, if you go into Los Angeles, the first 3 or 4 trainers that came in were people that knew me through my reputation, which was lucky.
I mean, by that point, you had written a couple phenomenal books.
We've got assets and various things.
Yeah.
But what happened, to go back to the people thing, I started with, I was doing 35 hours of personal training on the gym floor. When I opened the first gym, I was answering all the emails as Caroline. I was writing all the copy. I was doing all the blogs. Lean and mean, John. Lean and mean.
Yeah.
I was doing all the
You were
consults.
Caroline, eh?
I did everything. I was doing all the nutrition. I did all the nutrition while the trainers did the training, and I did the initial nutrition. Because people were buying into me. So I wanted to get, and I did get, they were good trainers. A lot of them ultimately weren't right for the business as the business developed. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's no implied criticism there of any sort. But there were no processes, and I'm not good at processes. I'm not the processes guy. So, but it's all in here. And then over the years, myself and the team, and this is where a good team is absolutely vital. We developed the processes, downloaded a lot of the processes from my head, especially initially.
What's an example of one of the processes? Just one of them that stands out.
Well, and test the system, and finish it, and then test the system, and relentlessly tweak the system, which makes people's lives a misery. And you've got to balance that out. But relentlessly tweaking that system. Just as you know and are aware with internet marketers, how they might relentlessly test things, relentlessly testing and measuring anything that you could imagine a trainer might do. So that's what UP does. It relentlessly tests and measures anything that you think a trainer should be doing. Gym floor, performance, energy, teamwork, interaction with other clients, feedback from clients, biometric feedback, which can take soft feedback, or it can be hard biometric feedback.
Okay. What's an example of how you might measure some aspect of interaction with a client?
Simple things. Simplest is Google review.
Okay.
If you've got a trainer who's had 15 clients in a year, good trainer might go through 15 clients in a year. Some will go through less, some will go through more, depending on the location. If that trainer has 15 5-star Google reviews, if that trainer has 3, doesn't mean they're a terrible trainer, but it means that they've not engaged their client in a certain way, so you dig deeper and you incentivize and reward based on that. Now, am I saying that Google reviews is the key metric? No, it's a minor, tiny minor metric. What testimonial do they give? When they give a testimonial, and a testimonial doesn't have to be used for marketing, what's the internal testimonial that we are gaining from the client in order to help assess the case? You with the client, you're a case, aren't you, in a way? You're a case. The trainer presents the case. This is my case for showing you I have demonstrated going above and beyond, giving massive value. Clients got significant ROI. Ultimately, and this will run true in any business I do in the future. If I go into gyms, members' gyms, obviously I wouldn't go into personal training again. If I go into group exercise, even looking at supplements or a few different things, I would always want to find a way to measure the value that I am giving the client, the consumer, the purchaser of the product. If I'm not giving great value, if I don't know I'm getting great value, I myself am not going to be proud of what I do. And I figured this out some time ago on my UP journey more than anything else. To be comfortable in my own skin, I have to be proud of what I'm doing. It doesn't mean I have to be the best. It doesn't mean I have to be successful, whatever the hell that means. Yeah. My parents did a super job in certain ways, not in all ways. I'm not by no means saying I'm perfect, because I'm definitely not. They taught me, and my dad was very hard, very hard, very tough, very tough. But I always knew if I'd done my best is good enough, whatever it may be. Now, my problem in life, certainly inspired by my father, and I've never been able to shift it, but it has also helped me achieve whatever level of success I've achieved, is I always think I can work harder.
Yeah.
Yeah? So I always think, I got up at 7 o'clock. Well, you could have got up at 6:30.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And this is not saying, I'm a very hard worker, but this is not saying I haven't had much time off actually with doing the business. Again, I'm going to segue into something that is related in terms of balance. For me personally, this, I think, is a total myth that you can have it all. For me personally, I'm not wired that way. So something had to give. The gym, my own training, my own exercise regime is sacrosanct. It was easy to keep that sacrosanct because it's kind of part of your job.
Right.
Family, absolutely sacrosanct. And I've been supported by, a genuinely amazing woman in terms of the unmitigated, unfettered, and by no means a pushover, very strong personality, but never complained once about what I ever had to do for work. Never pulled a face, never did a hump. Never did anything, never. If I missed a birthday because I was traveling, nothing. That support at home, lifting, I've changed 3 diapers, 2 kids, 3 diapers. I'm not bragging about it. I'm saying that to say, but I've been a active and present father. I've been able to be an active and present father. She's done a lot of that heavy lifting. The school stuff left to me maybe, but the rest of it is all Marcella. I've been able to do the training, the family, and work, and there was nothing left. So there was nothing left. So what gave with me was my social life, my ability to nurture. Friendships have to be nurtured to be maintained, and I have many friendships go to the wayside, and that may well be, a deathbed regret. People are not lying on their bed thinking, I wish I'd made an extra million. They're thinking, I've had more time with my friends. So that for me was a trade-off.
See, and I would. This is funny because I've begun working on a book on this general subject, so it's very top of mind right now. This idea of, I mean, the book is not about how to have it all, but it kind of argues the idea that you can have it all. But it argues it from the state of, here are the most important things, basically, in life, right? You've got, I bucket it into money, health, relationships. And I am of the opinion, or at least my experience has shown, that you can't get better, measurably better. You can't ruthlessly improve at more than one thing at once. I think that what you can do is you can put two of them kind of on, call it steady state, and then you can work on one aspect of one of them at one time. For a short, pretty intense period of time, improve that, move that to a new level, and then that becomes almost your new baseline for whatever that is, right?
Are you talking a personality trait, or are you talking learning something, getting good at marketing, let's say?
It could be any aspect of that, right? It could be any aspect of that. It could be, I really want to improve the relationship with my best friend. I mean, so Aristotle has multiple layers of friendship, is how he categorized it. And at the bottom, call them like friends with benefits. I don't remember exactly what he named it, but, colleagues, work buddies, like people who you generally like each other's company, but nobody has bones about it. If there wasn't mutual benefit with this relationship, you'd be happy to run into that person, but you wouldn't go out of your way to talk to that person. Number two is, call it friends of convenience. For whatever reason, where you are in life right now, you cross paths with that person. Maybe you share a hobby, you go to church with them, you live close to them, they're your neighbors, whatever. Same idea, right? They could be people you truly love. But if you were to move away or change your path or change churches or whatever, you'd be happy to see them if you saw them, but you wouldn't go out of your way to see them. And then at the top are the true friends, like the really special people where there's some almost inexplainable connection or bond with that person. And what is most interesting about this is that all of the research points to how few true friends you actually need.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. I'm thinking that and holding it in, yeah.
One spouse and one true friend. The benefits of having more than one fall off a cliff after that in terms of quality of life. Not to say that you shouldn't, right? But I always used to joke that I have one friend, like his name is John also. And I've known him since I was 8. Like, he's my one. He is the only person that I will drive out of my way to go see.
But is this a close family member by another name? Because, I mean, when I think about what you say resonates very strongly. I think also this is a maturing thing, more for men maybe than for women, but it's a maturing thing. As we get older, this circle of trust narrows, doesn't it? It narrows. So it's a circle of trust. To quote Robert De Niro, and that circle of trust. And when I think about my life, there's not a lot of people.
Not a lot.
And it is, family, and then less than a handful.
Yeah.
Of guys who I just can't implicitly trust. Yeah. And it comes.
You know what the sign is for me? A good friend is somebody who will commiserate with you when things go wrong. A best friend is somebody who will celebrate with you when things go right. There are fewer people in my life that I feel comfortable calling and saying, yo, this good shit happened, and they say, way to fucking go, man, than people who I feel comfortable calling and saying, hey, man.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Pat me on the back like something bad is happening.
Right. My test, honestly, would be and this sounds a ridiculous thing, lend them a significant sum of money.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Lend them a significant sum of money and then see what happens. That's
right.
that's a super interesting test. That when I say I haven't been stung on that, I haven't been stung. This isn't me speaking from bitter experience. Actually, it's more, basically, if you expose yourself to this person, is this person, what are they going to do with it?
Yeah.
That's what I think it is. If you expose some version of a vulnerability, cash is an obvious one, but there's lots of other things.
Sure. Cash is an easy one to measure. Yeah, we had a situation like that a year or two ago where a friend had a business that was kind of down and out, and they had a loan promised from the bank, but it wasn't going to kick in for a few months, and they needed to hit inventory to go to a bunch of shows. It wasn't in the fitness industry, but they did trade shows and things, and they asked us to lend them money. It wasn't a lot. It was like $3,000 or $4,000, right? And this was one of Allison's best friends, my wife's best friends. And what I said to her was, I'm happy to give them the money, but we can never ask for it back, and we can never bring it up. And if they give it back to us, and they did,
Yeah.
we can never. But it was like, if you want to do this, it's a minefield. Like this is a friendship that is worth far more than $3,000 to us.
Mm-hmm.
And if we give it to them, we have to think about it as if it's a gift.
Yeah.
In order to do that. You said on your Instagram story today in the sauna.
Yeah. I'm still hot flushed from that.
You said that. So, for anybody who doesn't know, you've sold your stake to private equity in EUP.
No, I've sold the majority.
You've sold the majority.
I've sold the majority stake. Yeah.
Yes. So, but one of the things that you said is that you are still driven.
Yes.
But you moved as CEO. So, what does that mean? You're still driven. Why are you still driven? Why? What? I mean, this is something top of my mind because I don't feel as driven as I used to be, and I had guilt around that for a long time, and now I don't. But that's jumped out to me when you said that you're still driven, even if you've had this nice exit.
So I believe that you are right and I am right. I am right to still be driven, and you are right to be less driven. If one has the courage and honesty to look inside oneself and understand what gives you purpose without trying to sound like Jordan Peterson. I just think that purpose is absolutely everything. I was so blessed in my life with grandparents, both sets, close to me geographically. We saw a lot of them. One set of grandparents that had nothing. My grandfather was a weaver in the mill. When he was 19, he was sent off to war in 1940. He was sent off to war in 1940, never having really known his dad, because his dad was in hospital for the entire period between the First World War and the start of the Second World War from mustard gas problems from the First World War. So they'd seen all the, I'm from one of those villages where the number of, at the time, I can't imagine there were like more, even 1,000 people, 1,500 people in the village, and there's 40, 50, 60 dead boys' names at the cenotaph, at the local cenotaph. Families just wiped out. He went off to war, and after that he was a weaver in a mill that he hated. They had no money. Happiest man. Lived a great life.
Yeah.
Content, because he was content. He knew himself, he knew what made him happy. Spend betting tuppence, 5p, 10p on the horses at the booking shop, reading cowboy novels, but he'd read the end of the books first because he didn't want to read happy things. And he loved his wife, and him and his wife, my grandmother, they were in love, not loved each other, in love, till the day that he died in his 70s. And she loved him for another 20. She was in love with him for another 20, nearly 30 years because she passed at 99. So those lessons there kind of ground me, make me understand it's all about purpose. I see my wife and how fulfilled she's been from having the children and what she puts into the children. So she gave up her work, her career took her to these fancy places, which was an unusual thing from a girl from a small town in Czechoslovakia. And she gave all that up to bring up the children because it fulfilled her more than anything else. So you have to look inside yourself, and I'm just that idiot that as he approaches the goal, changes the bloody goalposts.
Yeah.
This is how I am, and so I see what I've done with UP. I don't see the good. I see the mistakes more. I'm not there like flagellating myself or anything like that, right? I just, I could have done that better. Could have done this better.
Oh yeah. Tell me about that. I feel that, man.
and I just see it all as a prelude. I feel like I've done the undergraduate stuff, and now it's time. And I don't mean this in any way as a slight to UP. Anything I do, certainly for a little while, is going to be smaller than UP. But it's time to step it up a level. It's time, it's time to play with the big boys.
Yeah. Is that a legacy thing? Is that a fire in your belly? Is that a proving yourself? Is that I just want to see what I can do for myself? Like, what leads to that?
It is absolutely not for anyone external. I just think we have one life. We have one life. There's a million things I would like to do. I could list 100 things I'd like to do that I can't do 98 of them because I'm not going to have time in my life. And I just look at this and think, okay, this is my way of testing myself. I was fortunate when I was training clients. I'd had a couple of self-made, very, very successful clients, and we got on very well, and we were on perhaps more of a wavelength than might be normal. And I learnt a few simple lessons. This is a game. You've got to treat it as a game. I'm not saying I always treated it as a game, by the way. No. So when slings and arrows were thrown at UP, they were thrown at me. When UP was attacked, I was attacked. So it was very, very hard, right? It was very hard. But really, it's a game. So hey, now let's roll the dice on the bigger game.
Yeah.
That's what's fascinating. I was speaking to an extremely successful property person recently, and he was explaining to me that a multi-billion-pound project that he has is him rolling up and personal guarantees and doing this, and I don't need to do this. And if everything goes wrong, I'll be down to my last 20 million, right? So it's not like this playing the violin, but he doesn't need to keep rolling the dice.
Yeah.
And it's the thrill and the challenge,
the thrill of it,
and the hunt and the moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's just how I am wired, which is not me saying this is the best way to be. It doesn't make for an easy life. I don't think it will make for the longest lived life. I think the longest lived life is the super balanced and calm life. Burn.
Just let it ride.
Look after yourself. Try and do all the things right. But you see, what's worse? Going for it, not necessarily having the balance that you think is optimal, or not going for it and then feeling unsettled in your own skin. I think there's nothing worse than feeling unsettled in your own skin.
I think that's the key takeaway. I had a lot of guilt a couple years back. 2021 was tough for us. 2020 was an interesting year when COVID-19 happened because I had all the stuff with online fitness. And so it was a great year financially for us, which felt really weird because most of the people that we were trying to help were really suffering.
Yeah.
And having to make hard decisions. I mean, what COVID-19 did, what any Black Swan event does, is it forces you to either do shit or not do shit, but make a choice. And the worst position that anybody can be in is a position where things are just okay, but not great. Because if it's not bad enough that forces you to take action, or not great enough that forces some sort of transformative change, if it's just okay but you're not that happy, you kind of just get stuck there. And what a lot of people who worked in fitness were at that point, right, were kind of gliding along. And what COVID-19 did is that I call it like the shit or get off the pot moment. Like, you're going to take the shit seriously or you don't. Like, both are fine, but you need to make a choice. And we were the choice that people took very often if they decided they wanted to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But I made a lot of business mistakes. Because I said, this is it. You know, we were Wayne Gretzky. We were skating to where the puck was going. The puck is finally caught up. Yo, let's go. Let's scale up. Let's hire all these expensive people. Let's bring all these expensive processes in. Let's commit to all of these things. And what I did not realize at the time is that what COVID-19 really did is it artificially raised the demand for what we did.
Mm-hmm.
And for a little bit of time, that was wonderful because the supply hadn't caught up. The supply then caught up when everybody who had 10,000 Instagram followers all of a sudden became a business coach. And the demand was artificially high still, and so it was fine. You know,
You did a Peloton, basically.
we did a Peloton, and then of course the demand went down to regular levels, but the supply was still high, right? And I was sitting here with all these expenses, and it was really tough. So I had to make some very hard decisions and let go of a bunch of people that I really loved and truly cared about. And of course, all of them are doing better now than they did when they were working for us when times weren't good. But that was a moment where I decided, I was like, what's going to be the next big thing, right? And my decision was actually to take some time and figure it out. And that was when I was like, well, if I'm taking some time to figure it out, I may as well just grow my social media account, because like, what else am I doing? Because I think just, in an in-between time, I think is a great time to build up social media, because now it's just there and just an asset that I can use, and I don't care if it grows anymore. Like, it's big enough, and I don't want social media to be something that is all obsessive all of the time. It has to serve you. You can't serve it. And that means that recognizing when it's enough. I certainly know people that it's like, yo, you have 500,000 followers. Why aren't you doing something now? Why are you still every single day trying to figure out a way to entertain the internet? Because you're obsessed and addicted to the numbers and to the artificial feedback and the superficial feedback. As opposed to saying, nah, this is good enough. Like at this point now, this is going to grow because of real shit that I do in the real world. That is going to increase the reputation. But what was interesting was coming out of it.
It's a glorified website, really. It's a new version of your website, your brochure, your calling card. People forget. If it's to be used commercially, people have forgotten that.
Yeah.
And we made mistakes. Look, during COVID, technology, going for tech development, and that was just out of our wheelhouse, and we got led down the garden path and wasted a lot of money on CRMs, apps, and stuff like that have been helpful, but really should not have cost what they cost.
Yeah, I mean, I always joke with people. It's like, what are you trying to do in fitness? It's like, you're sending a spreadsheet across the internet. Like, let's not make it harder than it is, right? Spreadsheet needs to be easy to use and for both the trainer
it's very difficult to do. I mean, to do something innovative.
Yeah.
For instance, in fitness apps, you can look at the food app and to go, right, okay, because you can look at MyFitnessPal and it's not amazing what they do, but the scale of what they do is so big and so vast that you've, again, like I said at the start of the conversation, you have to cut your cloth according to your means, and you have to staying in your lane, having the discipline. This is an entire podcast all on its own. The discipline to stay in your lane especially if you enjoy a little bit of success in one thing. Or,
Right.
my one of the reasons for me to step away from UP was because I felt like there was a danger of me becoming a distraction because I was then there were things I wanted to explore and avenues I wanted to go down that were not personal training.
Interesting.
The model is there. The
Yeah.
business knows what to do. The business can go barring some stupid mistake. I think it's at about 30 with due to open maybe 32, 33 sites, and the business can get to 50 sites, 60 sites in next to no time. BAU, and then that's less of a challenge for me. Still very hard work, right? Because when
Sure.
people are your product, scaling, it's not that widget factory, it's people in your
Yeah.
product. So the problems do just escalate and escalate no matter what. Um, but for me, it was time to go because I wasn't staying in my lane enough, and I think I was probably
That
trying.
awareness. I don't think I've ever heard anybody articulate that awareness. That to me is the nugget of this episode. I'm so glad that we got to that. Because that awareness where you said, I am the person, like what I have become interested now in, or what I want to do, doesn't serve this business. This business is thriving because it does this that way.
Hmm.
And I'm interested in going in this direction.
Hmm.
Which means that, and if I were to do it within this existing business, I would be a distraction, because you're the boss,
Well,
and people. If you said that you wanted to do it, people would do it, right?
but this isn't me being like all wise and all knowing. It's
Yeah.
learning from the mistakes
Oh,
because
sure.
I'd proven to be a distraction. And there were things I was not doing that I used to do that I should have been doing in terms of
Yeah.
communication, and things like that. So you've got to know when it's time to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reason I think that jumps out to me so much is because of how real that is with my story, because of mistakes that I've made as well, right? Where, I mean,
You've got to make mistakes. Have you learned from your successes?
are you
I
asking
don't
me?
think I have. Yeah, I don't think I've learned from my
Um,
success. I've learned from my failures.
I've learned, you know what I've learned from my successes? I've learned two key things. The first is that um, success is really, for me, the result of doing a lot of things in order to figure out the one or two things that's going to work. I mean, I've written 11 books. I've created 8 digital programs. I've put on 5 conferences. Most of my reputation is the result of one book that I wrote, which actually was the first one, which is kind of demoralizing. And then 90% of my money, I mean, the reason why my family is fine and I don't have to worry about money for the rest of my life is the result of one of the products. But if I didn't do all the other ones, I wouldn't know that. So number one, the one thing that I've learned from success is that the vast majority of success is going to come from one or two things. But in order to get to those one or two things, you've got to do a lot of things and then double down on the few that work. That's one thing I've learned. The second thing I've worked is more just about, or that I've learned is more just about me, is about how I operate. And that's a combination of things that have worked well for me, but also things that I've broken. So kind of a little bit of both, which is I'm a guy who can go full bore into a project and do a great job with it, and then I cannot run things. I
Right.
get so bored and burnt out by running things. I can build it. I can take something from 0 to 1,
That's the people
crush it.
management, meaning the people management.
Oh
To me,
God,
that means
no.
no,
People management and ongoing optimizations and ongoing efficiency and ongoing operations. So that's why books do really well for me, because books are a project where I can go really, really full bore into it. And it's also why I started to go with a traditional publisher. My books coming up are with HarperCollins. They're not self-published.
Okay.
And
Is
a
that
lot
your
of
first,
the,
is that your first time with a big publisher?
this will be my first time with a big publisher. Is the book coming out in
Let me
January?
know your experience. I did one with HarperCollins, and it was, I did it. I went with them. I mean, I could have gone, with like some Random House, with some pretty big ones. And I went with HarperCollins because I thought, well, I'm going to learn so much.
I've had a good experience so far.
I didn't learn anything. They were very good at. They were very good at putting the book together in terms
Yes.
of the design and everything else. But in terms of PR marketing and stuff like that.
Oh God, I don't expect them to do anything. I heard it described to me really, really well from somebody who I respect in the book marketing world, and he said, the best editorial people in the world want to work for book publishers.
Okay.
But nobody who's really, really good at marketing says, I want to work for a book publisher. And so you actually get this disconnect in skill. Now, I haven't experienced that yet. I don't know whether that's true. I haven't gone into the aspect where I'm working with them on the PR and marketing yet. But I'm going into it. And my agent is phenomenal, too, which I think helps. My agent is a godsend.
Or is this New York?
My agent is Manhattan, yeah.
And is it HarperCollins in New York that you're working with?
I think so, but I mean, nobody's there really anymore. Like, they're all the editors are all over the place because they all, during COVID, they all started doing remote stuff anyway. Like, I had 6 different meetings with the big publishing companies, Penguin Random House, Harvard Business Review, all these things.
It was telephone calls. It was old school telephone calls, and they do News Corp. The UK, what it was at News Corp, which again is the Murdoch-owned entity. And News Corp still owns them, right? Must do.
I don't actually know.
You're not sure, are you?
I don't even know.
So I'm more interested than you in like this
in the media.
Call it business mechanics, digging into the bones.
The publishing world is a great world to get into right now, I think, because I think it is.
The actual the physical book publishing world, you mean?
Yes.
Publishing could be videos, right? Could be anything. What do you mean? You mean book?
I think the book publishing world is actually a phenomenal business to get into, because I think that the gatekeepers are going to be more and more important in that world in the years to come. Because in a decentralized, when a market becomes decentralized, one pattern that I've noticed is it's very similar to the developing economy, where a decentralized market is a long tail market. You have a few people that are going to win really, really big on one side. You have basically no middle class, and then you have a ton of people who are scratching and clawing, not making ends meet. And really what it does is it knocks the pendulum askew. It makes the world go crazy. It became too easy to self-publish a book. And as a result, the vast majority of self-published books are steaming pieces of piles of shit.
Right, okay. Yeah, okay.
They're fucking garbage. Now, the ideas in them might be good. The person writing the book might be smart, might have good ideas. But everything from the editorial direction to the polishing to the design to the putting together of the thing is crap. It's absolute crap, to the point where if somebody sends me a self-published book now, I actually won't look at it.
Okay.
Because they're just overwhelmingly so bad. And I spoke to a number of people that are very influential in their worlds, like people in charge of some of the biggest business magazines in the world and stuff. And they said the exact same thing. They say, if we get a self-published book that's already really, really proven in the marketplace, maybe we'll take a look at it. But for the most part, they go straight in the trash bin. And that's not because I don't think that some of them are good. That's because I know the majority of them aren't. And so having a tag from a publisher that is not going to put out crap. They're only going to put out ideas that they think are good, and they're only going to put them out in ways where they have vetted the information and they've put it together professionally. Like
the challenge there is something like the author, right? The challenge, because, and again, I think from the fitness industry perspective,
sure, fitness books are. Who cares about fitness books?
Well,
fitness books
my
are
niche of the fitness industry, which is male dominated. alpha or wannabe alpha, right? Oh, I can do it myself,
Right.
mate, and I'm going to save a bit more money. And I think that would be a hard sell. But yes, I completely see your point. I completely see.
Yeah.
But then,
Well, and
what
think about the
niche-
market, though. Think
what
about
niche-
owning a publishing company. Think about a
I
back
have.
catalog.
I
It's
have already
crazy.
thought about it. I
It's
have thought
crazy.
about it.
It's crazy. You have one book that sells well year after year, and you're pressing the print button.
In the UK, the last time that Men's Fitness magazine, it's not even around anymore. The last time Men's Fitness magazine was profitable, the editor in chief is on my team, not the UP team, my new team. And so and he's published 20, 30 books,
What?
and done. Well, I don't know how many magazines, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of national magazines.
But it's the
And
power
those
of the
skills-
back catalog. It's the power of the back catalog.
It is not, and it depends. Answer. What's the back catalogue? If the back catalogue is shit, no one wants it.
Sure.
Great, terrible. But if what's the back catalogue? What are you thinking? Give me an example.
I mean, the famous example is Ted Turner when he bought up all those old movies
Okay,
and started putting them on his television.
that's different.
But
That's different.
Sure.
You're not buying a back catalogue of classic literature.
so think about my business. Okay, I've self-published on Amazon. I have 6 self-published books for trainers.
Yep.
Now, none of them sell a ton. Call
But
it
it's
20 to 30 copies a day.
Okay.
Right.
20 copies
So-
each or all in?
All in, 20 to 30 copies a day. If I do a promotion, then more, but call it 20 to 30 copies a day.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have one book that comes out that hits it, that back catalog is going to get a turbo boost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, going traditionally published, it's like, okay, well, I don't know which book it's going to be, but I think that I will have in the next 10 years a book that will become a massive best-selling book.
Right, okay.
Because that is where I'm putting all of my energy into it. And I also know that I have a back catalog now of 6 self-published books.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. Yeah. I get you.
And those books will... So if a publisher were to come along and say, hey, John, you've self-published these back catalog of books. Can we buy the rights to those? They're not really selling much.
Mm-hmm.
Could buy them for almost peanuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you try to do is you really only need one person. So Mark Manson is an example of this, right? Mark Manson self-published a book on dating called Models years back. Put it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The book effectively wasn't selling. I mean, it sold when he put it out, and it was selling like a self-published book that was put out 7 years ago on a topic that the author doesn't write about anymore.
Yeah.
His blogs would do well. And then he came out with Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it became the most viral, fastest-selling book of all time.
Okay.
He sold 10 million plus copies, I think, of Subtle Art. I don't know what the number is at now. But if you go back and you look at Models now is 9,000 Amazon reviews.
Right. Okay.
Models is consistently ranked pretty highly in the Amazon rankings. And it's because it's going along for the ride. My guess is that little self-published book that was effectively dead on Amazon, that nobody was paying attention to, because Mark became who he is.
He's made more money than the one that he did with the best-selling one, possibly.
Probably not, just because Subtle Art has become such a phenomenon, but my guess is Models has made him $10+ million
Yeah. Okay.
as a self-published book after the other books have come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so how many people are there out there that have this interesting back catalog of good work?
Yeah, but then they've also got to then have the potential
Yes.
and deliver on
Yes.
that big hitting.
But you only need one. You only need one or a few.
Is that, I don't know, is that hard? Is that easy? Sure.
I don't know.
How many people have had? What's a big hit for a book in your terms? 500,000? 500,000 copies?
I mean, I would say 1 million probably.
million.
Internationally, like internationally across all media, I would say a million would be like a big hit.
A million again in my fitness niche that you know.
No, fitness, no, fitness, no.
Well, there is. There's. Have you even heard of him? A guy called Joe Wicks. Have you
Yeah,
heard of Joe?
I've
Wicks?
heard of him. Yeah, yeah.
But you don't know who he is.
I know who he is, but I don't know much about him.
He sold 2-3 million
Yeah.
in the UK alone, which is
What?
amazing. But no, I'm not aware of anyone else.
Yeah. No, it's not common. But that's what publishing is. That's what publishing always was. I mean, even on our website, 95% of our traffic came from 2 articles.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, that's just on my Instagram page. I mean, I've got whatever 200 and some thousand followers now. It's like the majority of those followers have probably come from 10 posts, and I've republished those 10 posts 5 to 10 times each. It's just to me that's the pattern that's just shown up over and over and over again that I would bet on is this asymmetry.
So is
in
that
games.
for you? Is that what you're thinking of doing? You're thinking of trying to somehow slowly create a publishing business?
No, I'm not ambitious enough, man.
Okay.
I'm not ambitious enough. I've got I've got a mentorship that's fantastic. We purposefully are growing it very, very slowly. We're not being aggressive with it, but it makes a lot of money. I've got and so that's run by Jason, who operates it and operates the entire team. He's amazing. So exact same example as what you said. It's what he does. He stays in his lane. He's fascinated by it. If I were to run that, I would take it in 10 different directions and break the stupid thing. We've got a software platform called Quick Coach, and that's being handed off right now to an operator as we speak. And it's the same thing. It's the Craigslist of software. It's the Casio watch of software. It's the Big Pen of software. It's simple.
So you wear a Casio watch?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So why? And it's not why criticism. Why?
Because Casio was formed in the 1970s. It was the first digital watch. They nailed it. What does a watch need to do?
I was born in 1972, so I'm very familiar with Casio watches.
So a watch needs to tell time, needs to have an alarm, needs to light up, and needs to have a timer. Anything else is frivolous.
Aren't there quite a lot of other watches that are similarly basic and fundamental? So it's a deliberate decision to buy something that feels a bit retro. It's a deliberate decision to buy the Casio.
I'm too chicken shit to get a tattoo. And so it's a reminder to me to keep things simple, to nail the core features, and to never change, and to stay in that lane. Because they nailed the core features with the Casio watch, they've sold the same ugly ass watch for 50 years. And they still sell the same ugly watch. Now, Casio has done a whole bunch of other stuff, but my guess is that they sell way more of these watches, and the majority of the profit of the company is these watches, and not the G-Shock and not all the other stuff.
What are the cost to buy?
This is $17.99 Canadian.
Great. I have a watch, and I got it at a very good price, but it was very expensive.
Yeah.
In about 2018, it's some kind of limited edition platinum. Can't remember what the face is. Some funny faced Daytona.
Okay.
Rolex Daytona. Can't wear it.
Yeah.
I can't wear it. I need to put it in a bank because it went up in value during COVID. 10 times what I bought it.
Yeah.
It's the best investment I've ever made.
It's funny.
But it's a fucking watch I can't wear. Can't wear that. Get killed for that. Someone sees that, knows what you've got on your wrist.
Yeah. My wife, somebody gave me a one of those iWatches, one of those Apple Watches, right? So my wife wore it for a little bit of time, and I remember we were on a paddleboard, which is something we like doing just on the river here in Toronto. We were on a paddleboard, and she asked me what time it was. I said, "Don't you have your watch on?" She's like, "Yeah, but I don't have my phone. And if my watch doesn't have my phone close to it can't pair with my phone, so can't tell the time." So she asked me what time it was.
What a useless people, actually. So look, your way of doing things is
you know what my way of doing things is optimizing for similar to you, is optimizing for the product. I've decided that for this phase of my life.
Are you the
What's
guy
that?
that has? Are you the guy that has the same outfits?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I've got 8 of these shirts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought you would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you
I
though.
know how you're wired now. My oldest friend. This is the same. He's not the same guy as you, but he's the guy that
Yeah.
It's just, why right? Why not? Why not? Why not? There is no argument apart from, oh well, I want a bit of variety. Okay, but that's
Sure. If you like it.
Yeah.
If you like it. I look at it as optimizing for profit. I look at it as maximization. I want to maximize the few things that I really want to maximize in my life.
Mm.
And in order to do that, I need to minimize or eliminate everything else. And so I decided that for this phase of my life, I want to maximize writing books. I want to write the best books that I can possibly write. I want to put my all into it, which means that there are certain sacrifices with the rest of my business that I need to make. With clothing, what are my goals wearing clothes? It's like I want to be comfortable and feel like I look good.
Mm-hmm.
Is wearing a different style of shirt going to affect my desired outcome?
Mm-hmm.
If I cared about fashion, if I liked fashion, 100%, I would maximize for that. I don't. So I try to eliminate that. Yeah, that's how I'm wired. Nick, this was fun. We could talk for hours. Maybe we'll do a part 2. But I have to get Calvin ready for camp because it's now 8:20 in the morning my time, and you're probably getting on with your night because it's 8:20 at night your time. But I appreciate you so much, man.
Pleasure. Been great to talk and very interesting. Thank you.
Absolutely. Same on my end. We'll talk soon.